Alright, so this is Fire King for the Xyz and Link Festival. And if you're wondering why this deck list looks like this, well, I mean, we'll look over here on the side. Snake Eyes cards legal. Yeah, you notice there's a distinct lack of Poplar and Ash because those cards are banned. Then Diabellstar Black Wish plus Original Sinful Spoils also banned. Promethean Princess is banned, so it ain't in here. And obviously you have the Fire King High Avatar Kirin, which is a limited to 1. So why is Konami so harsh on these bans? Because they know if they don't hit out every last part of this deck to make it unplayable, they're gonna be degenerates like myself who will just force themselves to try and find a way to play this deck in an event, even when they clearly have the intention of wanting to make this deck unplayable. They don't want you to play this deck. Well, too bad, Konami. You done fucked up. You didn't hit this deck enough. You didn't ban the Kirin. Therefore, this deck is still playable in the Xyz and Link Festival, even with all those aforementioned limitations. I found the way. I found the goo. Okay, and yeah, it's obviously it's not gonna be perfect. You know, it ain't the tier 1 deck that it is in standard, but this is still perfectly a playable deck. And yes, Fire King with 1 Kirin, no Snake Eyes, no Diabellstar, no Promethean Princess, still a playable deck in this event. And yeah, a large portion is because we're playing the Springans cards still, the Springans engine. If you play it, anyone playing the Xyz Cup, you guys should know what this does. But basically, the Springans engine allows you to any 2 rank 8s or any 2 level 8s allows you to go into rank 8 into Explorer to overlay a Sargass on top of it to search Tallyho. The Tallyho will summon both Sargass and the Explorer back, and with Explorer plus Sargass, you get UDF plus Sargass, which is basically 3 interruptions because you have a Monster Negate, and then you have a Sargass, which is a quick effect you can detach from an Xyz monster you control and then pop a card on the field, and you don't actually pop your opponent's cards. You basically use Sargass as a pseudo Kirin. Okay, so you're going to use Sargass to pop itself because Sargass is a fire monster, and when you pop Sargass, it's going to trigger Garunix to summon itself back. And then Garunix is going to summon and then pop the 1 of Kirin from your deck to revive one of your monsters, and then pop another card. And that whatever arrives is going to be another interruption. You either are going to revive an Arvata, or you're going to revive Alcanix, which Alcanix is going to pop the Garunix to search a Rumbali and special the Rumbali. So you're either going to get a Spell Trap Negate or a Monster Negate on top of a pop and Monster Negate on a UDF, which is like, you know, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, so it's also hard out. So yeah, this deck, the combo still works. Basically, as long as you resolve Fire King Sanctuary and Fire King Island, you get minimum 3 to 3, anywhere from like 3 to like 5 to 6 plus interruptions from your combo, which is still crazy because Fire King cards, you know, Kirin and Garunix are just completely custom cards, and also Alcanix is great. So yeah, the only issue is, you know, because they hit all the other engines of this deck, you notice there's a real lack of starters. Okay, you have Ponix, which searches Island, and then you have Alcanix, which gets you to Ponix. Beyond that, you don't have these are like your only 1 card starters, 1.5 card starters in your deck. Okay, that, yeah, obviously there's 1 for 1 in Prosperity, so of course we're running this. The thing about Prosperity, most of the time you can only ever Prosperity for 3. You can't banish 6 off Prosperity. Just because of the Springans engine requires you to run 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 4 cards in your extra deck that are required to run. So like, if you banish 6, then and then including the 4 card Springans engine, you only have like 5 extra deck slots to play with at that point, and then it's like you never know what you're really going to banish, so most of the time you will only banish 3 to off Prosperity, unless you hard draw the Sargass, because Sargass is a hard brick. This is the Tallyho, it's fine to draw, you can still do the combo with Tallyho, but if you draw Sargass, then you can't do the Springans line. So then, you know, if you draw the Star Gas, feel free to Prosperity for 6 and get rid of all of these, because you're not going to be able to really make use of them anymore. But yeah, to make up for the consistency, you know, it's running 3 Sanctuary and 3 Island. This is the absolute the biggest problem with the deck and trying to play this in this event, is because these cards, you have to open a Fire King Island or a Sanctuary. If you don't open a way to this, either with the 3 Ponks or 3 Volcanics, and you don't hard open Sanctuary or Fire King Island, you're not playing the game. And obviously the issue is, once you have 1 Sanctuary or 1 Fire King Island, any additional copies you run are just completely dead cards. They're like useless in hand. But you have to run these at max copies, because these are the only starters you have besides this. And even with these, you only have like 12 starters, which is why you also run 1 for Prosperity. That way you put your starter account to a respectable 14. But yeah, it's also funny enough, it's good for playing through Disruption, because people will always in-perm your Pawnex and your Volcanics, because like they're not going to suspect you're playing Fire King in the fucking Exceeds Link Festival with all these hits, right? So they're just going to in-perm the first thing they see, and then because you run 6 copies of this, it's a very high chance you're going to have this in your hand anyways, and then you can just activate it and then play through their hand trap, and then and then still like cook them afterwards, just because they weren't expecting it. And the other Fire King monsters, so yeah, these are necessary. We're playing 2 Arvada and 1 Rambali, so as mentioned, Rambali is kind of like a way to get an extra disruption on your board, because every time you're going to be popping Volcanics with Garunix going first, like 90% of the time, just so you can get the other Garunix out. Having Garunix plus having both Garunix out lets you go into the rank 8 place, which lets you do your whole Springans combo. So because you're going to have an Volcanics engraved at all times, the Kirin reviving the Volcanics lets you search Rambali, and then having Rambali in your deck turns the Volcanics engraved into an additional interruption. Obviously, like, you don't need to do this when you have actual Snake Eyes cards, you have actual Diabellstars, and you have like an actual extra deck and Promethean Princess and all that stuff, plus Ambler Whale to to actually go into. But in here, because we don't have all of that stuff, we need this to extract an additional form of like interruption on our opponent. And then 2 Arvada. 2 is because sometimes you're gonna send Arvada turn 1, and then when you send Arvada turn 1, you want to have another monster you can send pop to special summon another monster, because you're not going to be able to do Kirin. Kirin you're going to be using on your opponent's turn as an interruption. So if you send Arvada turn 1 and then you pop with Kirin, on your 3rd turn, you need the 2nd Arvada just to have a monster to pop to actually be able to revive and get extra bodies. Otherwise you'll run out of like a good pop target for Garunix. Also, just drawing Arvada is fine in this deck, because the important part of your deck is resolving Fire King Island. That's the entire thing. Fire King Island has to resolve. So if you draw Arvada, that's fine. You just normal summon it, and then your Fire King Island is protected from Ash, which is like the big deal. That's why we're also running Called By and Cross Up, even though Maxi is banned. Because if you get your Fire King Island Ash, you basically just pass your turn. At most, you're probably going to have a Skyburn set, and that's it for your in-engine interruptions. So like, even drawing Arvada just so you can guarantee that your Fire King Island goes through an Ash is actually very important. It's actually it makes it so that I don't mind drawing Arvada. Even like drawing Arvada normally in like an actual real Snake Eyes deck is not that great, but drawing it in here, it's actually not bad. So yeah, and then the rest of the deck is like, it's just non-engine, because I mean, this deck has room for non-engine because so many of its main deck cards were hit. So yeah, you got the 3 Ash, the 3 Valor and 3 Droll. Only reason I'm running 3 Valor and 3 Droll is because of Celine. Because again, Promethean Princess is banned, you're missing an OTK option in your deck. So at the very least, if you draw one of these 6 hand traps, you get to go Celine into Axis Code, which replicates the Promethean Zealandis OTK. It even has the same amount of body requirements to actually go for that OTK if you have a Valor and Droll in grave. In fact, like you only need 2 monsters to go into access code, which is game, because you're also gonna have like a Garunix on board that's boosted and has like over 3k attack. So Garunix plus access code is a game as well. You don't need the Promethean Princess to land as the ODK opponent that way. And triple bell, because getting called by the grave on Garunix is disastrous. You actually just lose the game if your Garunix gets called by it, so you gotta run this to protect it. And that's another good cross-out target, you know, cross-outing out the call by. And then the one Nibiru and the one Imperm, because this deck doesn't really have a way to play around Nibiru without Flame Birch and without Princess. You actually get clicked by Nibiru, so you know, cross-out target and then cross-out target. It still amounts to 14 hand traps, so it's honestly, it's fine. I'm surprised how well this deck works out actually. Like this, amazingly, I haven't really bricked with this deck, and I felt like I didn't feel like games were unwinnable going second, even with Engine, because Volcanics is still a ridiculous normal summon into boards. It forces out a response, and then because you always have like a Fire King Island, because you run 6 of them, you get the always like the push through 1 interruption easily. And yeah, the extra deck is you need these 4 for your Springans combo, and the Hyang, the Linkaribo, the Almirage, the Sunlight Wolf. So Sunlight Wolf, Almirage, and Heatsoul. This is what you do if you draw Sargass, because you can't do the Springans line if you draw Sargass, but you can still go into Heatsoul, send Kirin with Garunix, and then add back the Kirin with the Sunlight Wolf when Linkaribo, and then go into Heatsoul afterwards, draw 2 cards. It's an alright play. I never did it because, you know, I'm just a champ and I never draw my hard garnets. So yeah, this is probably the 3 cards that you could well, you can probably Prosperity Away, Sunlight Wolf, and Heatsoul, and then you just pick a 3rd one depending on your hand. Masquerena, if you do a full combo, basically if you open Volcanics and you end up having enough bodies to where you can make an IP Masquerena on top of it as well with the Ponix plus Volcanics. That way your end board is UDF, Sargass, and then Masquerena, and it's really nice because obviously Utopic Draco Future steals a monster, so it gives you a free body to link off of the IP Masquerena. So yeah, that's neat. Charmer, Unicorn. This is the only form of interruption you go into with the IP Masquerena. I know, like, there's no SP, so like don't really have many other targets to go into. I guess you could play an Apple, or not on Apple. So you play a Goddess, I suppose. Although that's not really. I mean, at that point you're just doing largely the same thing. It's just you're spending an extra body, which sometimes you can, sometimes you can't afford it. I just play Unicorn, it's more consistent. Unicorn is also useful as a link climbing tool. It's also you have a lot of dead cards in hand, like you have a lot of redundant cards in hand, such as extra copies of Fire King Island and Sanctuary, so this makes use of them. Celine for these 6 hand traps, Heatsoul, and then access code. But yeah, this, if you don't believe me, just check out how capable this deck is. Okay, they need to, Konami, if you're watching this, you need to hit this deck more in like subsequent battles. This is not enough. Like ban Sargass or like ban Tallyho, so yeah, I can't even go in the Springans slide. This deck is still way too strong, even with all the hits you try to hit it with. Oh yeah, I guess I should mention this since I think some people might ask it, but this is a pure Fire King's build, so you might be wondering, okay, why did I type in fire? Well, obviously, what did I expect when I typed in fire in the search bar? Okay, Fire King. Okay, so we're not running Barong. This is something I see in a lot of pure Fire King builds. I think this card is trash. Okay, like I used to, well, before in a previous build with this, yes, I went through multiple builds of this deck in the fucking event. I was running like Barong and I was running Tankies to like potentially search out Arvada or Barong or Rambali, whichever one I needed. And I never want to search Barong. Okay, even when I hard drew this, if I had another Fire King monster like an Volcanics or like a, you know, like Kirin, obviously I would rather pop that. If I had an Arvada, I would rather pop the Arvada and pop the Barong. This card does nothing. All this card does is searches one Kirin, which you don't even need to search Kirin, because when you go through your Sargass line, you end up with a Sargass on the field, and Sargass can fulfill the role of Kirin. Sargass will just quickly pop a fire monster guaranteed on your field anyways, because it can just pop itself. And then you already have, then you can have a quick play way to trigger Garunix. You don't need this to absolutely search Kirin. And this card, like, I never searched this with Tanky when I played Tanky, and yeah, it was often just stuck in my hand if I had any other fire monster, because I would never want to pop this. Even the only way this actually does anything is if I do my combo and I pop this and then I get Nibiru, so I can't end on the full Sargas line, and then this adding Kirin can potentially add something, but even then it's not guaranteed, because I would have to have another fire monster in hand for to pop the Kirin, because I got Nibiru anyways. This isn't even helping me play through Nibiru that hard. So yeah, I just ended up cutting this to play more of hand traps, because hand traps actually helped me go second, and hand traps like Bell helped me retract my plays, whereas this, yeah. And if you're wondering, like, there's a kind of a low fire count, what do I do if I open Fire King Sanctuary or Fire King Island and I don't open a fire monster? You normal summon one of these hand traps and you go into Almirage, you pop Almirage with the Fire King Island, you add Garunix, that will trigger Garunix, dump Alcanix specials, Garunix, and then you have full combo already. You still get the full 3 interruptions. You still have UDF plus Sargas, pop itself to summon back Garunix, pop Kirin, revive Alcanix, pop Garunix, add Rumbali, special Rumbali. There's your 3 interruptions right there. Off of normal summon hand trap into Almirage into Fire King Sanctuary. So you didn't even need Barong as an additional fire, because you can literally turn any of your hand traps into a fire monster already. So yeah, this I don't see the point. Even running in pure Fire King decks, I really not see the point of running this card. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but yeah, I don't really miss this card. Never wanted to have this in my hand even. So yeah. So this duel basically showcases what the deck is capable of and like the best end board this deck can make in the event. So you open both Ponix plus Alcanix, that's full combo, that's the best board you can make. And here I normal summon Ponix. Now you probably should normal summon Alcanix in this event, in this scenario, just even if you just pop Ponix, search a second Ponix, special summon the Ponix, and then you know, get your search from there. That way you have a second Ponix that you're just gonna add back to your hand during your opponent's standby phase, so it's just a free card. Like, I'm just doing the play because like I'm subconsciously playing around Maxi, because technically this plays better around Maxi if you're playing Maxi too. But obviously you don't have to worry about that at this event. So like this is just the slightly worse play, because now I don't get another Ponix, but it's fine. You still search the Skyburn since we already opened 2 Fire King Islands. You know, that's an issue with this deck. You gotta play so many Fire King Islands that you often open multiples. So yeah, at the very least, when you open multiples, you don't have to search it. So yeah, you pop the Alcanix from your hand. And if you normal summon the Alcanix, you would just pop the Alcanix from the field. It's the same thing. And then Alcanix gets the Garunix out, and then you dump Arvata to summon back the Alcanix, and then you go into your Springans plays. 2 level 8s. Usually it's gonna be the 2 Garunixes. You're gonna overlay into Explorer, then you're gonna overlay into Sargas. Sargas is going to add Tallyho Springans, activate Tallyho Springans, detach the Sacred Fire King Garunix plus the Explorer. Make sure you detach these 2, because you want the Garunix back in grave, and you need to detach the Explorer. Then you add Sargas, and then you special summon back the Explorer with the Tallyho, and then you special summon the Sargas, and you return the Fire King Island to hand, just because when you detach a material, you know, you get to return one to hand. You get to pop a card too. You get to decide if you want to pop the card or bounce it, so it can be used as a board breaker. You can pop your opponent's cards too, but obviously if you're going first, you don't want to pop anything, so you just add the Fire King Island back to your hand. That way, when your opponent can't nuke your field by just getting rid of the Fire King Island. So yeah, it means your board is a bit more resilient there. You're not going to lose like a random spell trap move or a Cosmic Cyclone, right? And then obviously 2 rank 8s just go into Utopic Future into UDF. And then these 2 Ponix plus Alcanix go into an IP Masquerena. And then we set a Skyburn. So this is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions. And the idea with Springans Captain Sargas is you don't actually want to pop your opponent's cards, because you actually want to use Captain Sargas to pop itself. By popping itself, you will summon back the Garunix from your grave. Garunix will summon itself back. Pop the limited Kirin from your deck. Kirin will revive Arvata. Pop a card, and then you have Arvata on as a monster gate as well. And then you also have Skyburn. So, yeah, that's still quite a lot of interruptions. Even for this heavily nerfed Fire King deck, this is still an impossible board to play through for most decks in this format. And Mathmech Circular, obviously open the 1-of Circular, by the way. Mathmech players are built different, so they're gonna summon back the Sigma. There's nothing I can really do about that, but I can negate this Mathmech Circular, and then I take it with the Utopic Draco Future, which is very nice because now we get a free material to use as for our IP. This is why like IP is pretty nice, because Draco Future gives us always steals material for us to use with the IP usually, so we don't have to link off our own monsters for the IP Masquerena. And they're gonna summon Addition, and here I'm just gonna use the Masquerena right now because you know, why not? You know, go into the Nightmare Unicorn, get rid of the Sigma, see what else they have, pitch the one of the 2 Fire King Islands. They're gonna normal summon Blady Debug, and you know, this roll is gonna come in handy now, so they're gonna add Microcoder, and now this shuts off their Microcoder. It also shuts off their Baylink, so yeah, that was a pretty decent roll. And they're gonna go into Code Talker Inverted, and then Code Talker Inverted, summon out the Dotscaper. Now, I should have probably popped off like my Sargas at this point. I think I waited too long because I just wanted to see what they were doing. And at one point when they summoned the Transcode, I was committed to just waiting until they summoned like an Axe Code or a Terrorist, and then just go from there. Because if I just wait that long, then I probably would have. There's nothing they could do. But here they go into Link Decoder, and here I don't know why I decide to use this now, because like this kind of wastes my interruptions, as you'll see. So I use Sargas right now to pop itself, detaching off the UDF, and then Garunix summons itself, and then Garunix will dump the Kirin, and then the Kirin will summon back the Arvata, and then I pop the Transco Talker. And here, like, this is why I messed up, because I waited so long that I have to fire off the Skyburn immediately, so I will Skyburn and pop the Link Decoder and the Code Talker Inverted, so that they will only have a Baylink left, which, like, this is perfectly fine. Like, this obviously, this is still enough to win the game, but I messed up because I waited so long that I didn't even get to use my Arvata as an interruption. But it's cool because they already normal summon. They use Link Dotscaper and their Link Decoders out of their Link Decoder is out of rotation because you know, they can't really revive it back unless they do Crystal Heart revive back a Link Decoder, which I don't even think Crystal Heart allows them to do that. But yeah, they have 2 cards in hand. Even if they were 2 extenders, I don't think they could get to a game state where the yeah, I wanted to do time limit. Oh yeah, I remember this guy would try to time me out after I did that entire line of my Fire King and popping their entire board. But you know, we'll just treat it as they had no more plays. So here's another game, and here we open Arvata. And opening Arvata, unlike with Fire King Snake Eyes, opening Arvata in this specific version of Fire King is really nice because, again, the main hand trap that you're worried about is Ash on Fire King Island. If people just hold their Ash on Fire King Island, like, it sucks. You don't get the Garunix to in rotation, you obviously can't do any of your big Exceed Springans plays, and you just end with, like, maybe a Skyburn pass at most when your Fire King Island gets Ash. So having an Arvata is actually pretty decent to draw, because I can just normal summon this, and then I know my Fire King Island, I can protect it from Ash, unless they have, like, 2 hand traps. But, like, I wasn't playing through 2 hand traps most likely anyways, but yeah, so I normal summon the Arvata here, activate Fire King Island, and this was a mistake. Instead of popping the Fire King Island first, I should 1-for-1 just pitch the Ponyx first to get a second Ponyx from deck, and then, you know, get the Skyburn Surge, because I end up not using this 1-for-1 at all, which was like a waste, right? And even if they Ash it, like, I can just negate the Ash with Arvata, it's fine. I'll get rid of my Ash to negate their Ash, then they don't have Ash anymore for my Fire King Island, so it's still fine. But yeah, I just popped the Ponyx right away to add the Garunix, which is like a very conservative play. Just Garunix does get you to your Springans board, so you could dump Volcanics and then special Arvata, and then you do this whole Springans thing, Explorer into Sargas. And unfortunately for them, their one hand trap is a Veiler, so that Veiler is not going to do jack against me because I hard opened the Arvata. and I pop the Ash in my hand. I'm perfectly fine with popping Ash in my hand because this Springans revolving gives me like 3 interruptions just by itself. So I'll Tally Ho, detach the Runix plus Explorer, hit Sargas, special back the Explorer, special the Sargas, and then you know make you get the Fire King Island back to my hand so my field doesn't get nuked when it gets popped, and then go into UDF. And here, even so we have the Arvada on board already, and then we have obviously we have the Utopic Draco Future and the Sargas, which is gonna pop itself to summon back the Runix, and then you'll see that even when you don't have an Arvada to revive back off the Runix, it's still fine. Like just getting 2 level 8s gives you like 3-4 interruptions by itself. You don't even need this Arvada in rotation. But yeah, we also should have had a Skyburn on the as well if I used this one for once. If I wasn't an idiot, but I am, so we lose 1 interruption from that. But yeah, we add the Ponix to hand, and then during a normal summon live Twin Kitsukill, and here I just use all my interruptions right away because I ain't afraid. Arvada is gonna pop the Ponix, and then that's gonna trigger the Garunix, special summon Garunix. Garunix is gonna send the Kirin. Kirin is gonna revive Alcanix. Alcanix is gonna Kirin is gonna pop their monster, then Alcanix is gonna pop the Garunix to add the Rambali. Because it's the add and the destruction is simultaneous on the Alcanix, you can special summon the Rambali right away. So now even if you don't have the Arvada, you can always just Kirin, bring back Alcanix, add Rambali, special Rambali. So now you still have 1, 2, 3, 4. I still have 4 interruptions on board. Or I still have 3 interruptions. Should have 4. But yeah, and they lost their... And they're playing Spright and they lost their normal summon. So what are they gonna do, right? Even if they had tactics, we have a spell negate now. So yeah, this deck, honestly, I'm gonna say, like, when this deck sets up, it has one of the strongest boards in this format still. Fire King, even with all the nerfs, without any secondary engine, and with like having to run like 1 limited Kirin and like a bunch of Fire King Islands and stuff, this deck is still it still puts up a formidable board, as you can see right there. Alright, so this game we're going second, and we open no hand traps, which is unfortunate. I have a Tenki in my deck still. This was when I still ran Barong and Tenki before I cut it, because I realized that this card, the Barong and the Tenki they just did nothing. I never wanted to see them. So yeah, our opponent's playing Unchained. Now this is baby's first Unchained, because let's look at what end board they end up making. So Dark Beckoning Beast at the Chaos Summoning Beast. Normal these two go into Yama. Okay, so Yama is gonna add Shavara, and then opening the Spirit Gates, dump Shavara, summon back Dark Beckoning Beast. Shavara, get escape. Okay. And then activate Nightmare Pain. Okay, interesting. Nightmare Pain, pop the Dark Beckoning Beast, add Spirit of Yubel. And then set... what like, come on, man. Like, there's no way... you had no way to get a fucking Unchained Soul of Rage on the board? Like, there's no way you could have done that? Come on, man. Like, this just made my job so much easier, because this hand still, it kind of struggles through Rage, not gonna lie. If they pop the Fire King Sanctuary, that actually kind of hurts, but we'll see what they end up doing. So normal summon Alcanix just always forces out something, so this forces out the Imperm as expected. But this is the perk of running triple Fire King Sanctuary, triple Fire King Island, because you always have this. You always have a Fire King Island essentially in your hand to extend past your normal summon getting disrupted, which it always does. So yeah, first I'm gonna use Tenki to add a Rambali, and then I'm gonna activate Fire King Sanctuary for Fire King Island, pop the Arvada, add Garunix, special Garunix, because I get greedy. So I was trying to Garunix, send Kirin revive Arvada, and then that will trigger Ponix, and then I could have probably just killed them from there. But they ended up having the second Imperm, so yeah, obviously when you get the Imperm twice, it's a little unfortunate, and now I have a Rambali and a Ponix that I cannot summon either of these because I can't pop a card anymore. So I am gonna go into Hita, and this was a mistake. So yeah, like I said, if they escaped pop the Sanctuary, my turn would have ended right there, but instead they waited until after I resolved my Fire King Island, and now they're hitting the Hita, which I was going to use to revive back the Unchained Soul of Shayama, which, by the way, Fiend locked me. The only thing I can make with this is a Nightmare Unicorn, which I was only going to use the Nightmare Unicorn to spin back the Yama. Like, that was it, bro. It wasn't that deep. But you popping the Hita helps me dramatically, because now the Hita, like, how silly is this? Okay, so I can special summon the Ponix because the Hita was destroyed, and then the Hita searches me a Kirin. So, and then the Ponix adds me a Skyburn. So they literally gave me 2 free interruptions just because they popped the Hita. I got the Kirin search and I got the Fire King Skyburn search. And yes, I did forget to set the call by. You know what? Fuck it. We don't need the call by for this game. So opponent's gonna normal summon Santarati Lows, and here the Kirin's gonna pop the Ponix. It's gonna trigger summon back the Garunix. Garunix is gonna send the Kirin from field because that's the only one we have in this format, and then you can trigger Kirin and Rambali, so Rambali is going to special summon itself, and then Kirin is going to summon back the Arvada for Grave, and Arvada pop the Lotus, and then this is all Fire King stuff, okay? This is all the Fire King advantage generation you all know. So the Yama is going to get negated by the Arvada, send the Garunix. They're going to use Nightmare Pain, which I had at this point. I have a Skyburn already, so and they already use normal summon, so like, this is already gamed. I'm just using the Rambali on the Nightmare Pain just in case, you know, there's like a Grave Squirmer line or something. Summon back the Volcanics. They're gonna use opening the Spirit Gates, and now I'm gonna Skyburn for 2, pop both their cards, and now they have no cards, and they have no Phantom View Bell. And I have the Garunix summon from deck, and I have to follow up next turn with the Fire King Island. So yeah, that was. Yeah, I mean, frankly, maybe we should not have won that if my opponent made any sort of resemblance of a decent board with Unchained, plus having 2 infirms. But since the only interruption they had was the 2 infirms, and the very poorly timed rage, or the very poorly timed escape, yeah, we were able to break through that no problem. Alright, so here we're going first, and this hand is not that great. We have Fire King Sanctuary, but we have the double Garunix in hand. Not really what you want to see. So our only play is activate Sanctuary and hope we don't get ashed. Thankfully we don't, so we get to pop the Avatar, add the Ponix, especially on the Garunix because we already have this in hand. Garunix, send Arvada summon back the other Garunix. You need to send the Garunix, by the way, because if you don't resummon, you need to send Arvada in this case, because if you don't summon back the Garunix, then it's gonna pop your entire. It's gonna nuke my field on their standby phase. We don't want that. So yeah, we have 2 level 8s now, and then you go Explorer, and then Explorer into Sargass. I should have probably normal summoned the Ponix first, because this was like playing around Nibiru. Because if they nib me at this point, at least I could normal summon Ponix, you know, get Skyburn, and Skyburn gives me like 2 to 3 interruptions still through the Nibiru. But if I normal summon the but here, like my Sargass, so I'm gonna get Ash, I'm gonna get Springans, and then I detach when I get Ash. So first of all, if I know nobody plays Fire King this event, so you don't know where to Ash, but you should always Ash Fire King Island. Okay, if they Ash Fire King Island, my turn would have ended. But secondly, if I had normal summoned the Ponix, there was a non-0% chance they would have normal summoned the Ponix. They would have ashed the Ponix, because they were probably thinking like, well, what else am I going to ash, right? But nobody sees the Springans cards coming, unless you play in the Xyz Cup, which most people did not. So, yeah, if I summoned the Ponix first and they ashed it, then this entire play would have gone through. But unfortunately, we get ashed on the Springans, the Tally Hill Springans, so we don't get the UDF and we don't get the Sargass. But at least I can normal summon Ponix and get Skyburn still, so even though this looks unassuming, Skyburn plus Ponix to pop is already, like, with a Arvada engraved, like, this is already an insane amount of interruption, so it's honestly fine, and our opponent is gonna add Gen first, and then summon Speedway Chairtop after reinforcement army for Gen. That's an interesting choice. So we're gonna summon these two, and we're gonna go into the big Gabonga, which I'm just gonna imperm the big Gabonga. And then, yeah, they're gonna normal summon Gen afterwards, and then here, I'm gonna pop the Gen and the Ponix, that's gonna summon back the Garunix, send the Kirin, revive the Arvada pop the Gabonga. and okay, so the funny, okay. They're gonna activate Goblin like a grand entrance in the imperm zone. And I'm gonna Ash this. Man, Yu-Gi-Oh players, like, not only can Yu-Gi-Oh players not read, they're just straight up blind. Like, both my opponent and I are just completely, like, blind mice in the fucking rain. Like, we cannot see, we literally cannot even see this imperm column after they specifically added it in the game to help dumbasses like ourselves. We still fucking still play into it both ways. So yeah, and then you're not gonna believe what happens next. Yeah, after that game, I think wouldn't blame my opponent if they took a break after that, because I certainly did, because I was like, I was watching back the replay and I was like, wait, did I really just Ash the card they played into an imperm zone? And then they really just play this card into the second imperm zone? Like that was not Ash being a 500 IQ bait, knowing that they play into the imperm zone already, so that they would play a second card into it. No, hell no. That was just the lack of object permanence. Alright, so here we're going second, and all we have is one effect veiler, which always scares me, even in a lower power event like this. Except they opened normal Firewall Guardian code generator. So this is already not a great opening. I'm not gonna lie. This already means that they can't get circular. Well, I mean, the circular doesn't really do much, even if they somehow do get to it. Which, spoilers, they don't get to it in their combo line. So the Firewall Guardian is gonna come back. And the code generator is going to send the Dotscaper, then the Dotscaper is going to come back, and then you're going to link off the Firewall Guardian into the link decoder. So I have no idea what they're doing right now, to be honest. Like, this is a line that I have never seen before, and my opponent is just stuck like at the back of the kitchen doing like some exotic shit with ingredients I've never seen before. And here, you notice I have this Veiler in hand. I didn't Veiler a single thing because I honestly have no idea what the Veiler. Like, I don't really know what's going on here. So they're gonna summon Firewall Phantom, and then Firewall Phantom summon, make the Splash Mage. Firewall Phantom is gonna add Cyanic Conflict. When I'm like, well, I should have read the Firewall Phantom and negated and Veiler the Kotak inverted. My bad. I did not see the inverted summon Firewall Phantom play coming. Should have seen that coming, my bad, that was my fault. They're gonna dump Firewall Defender, and then gonna bring back the Splash Mage, or bring back the Dark Sweeper with Splash Mage, and go into Heat Soul. At this point, I still have nothing to Veiler, so I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then they just said that. They don't even make it Terahertz, because the Radiant Conflict is they need a Kotaker on the field, so they kept the Heat Soul instead of, so they didn't even have a line into Terahertz. Which I still would not have Veilered. Like, I had exactly one good Veiler that entire line. So yeah, this is it's not like their play was good, because they end on one interruption and whatever hand traps they draw off the Heat Soul. So yeah, we draw Alcanix. Alcanix breaks the board by itself. So yeah, Alcanix pop run Bali, add Kirin, special Ponix effect, and they're gonna sign a conflict. And yeah. Again, advantage of running 6 Fire King Islands. We always have it. Okay, so yeah, they're going to now. Granted, with Kirin, I didn't actually need Fire King Island this time, because there was nothing they could sign a conflict. The best play was signing conflicting the Alcanix. But now, because they let the Alcanix go, and I searched the Kirin, even if I didn't have the Fire King Island, I could just Kirin pop the Alcanix summon the other Grunix, go 2 into the Explorer can, and then I can break their field with Explorer plus Sargass, and then still end on UDF Sargass, breaking their entire board through a Sign of Conflict. But because I have the Fire King Island, they're just dead. So Fire King Island can just pop the Kirin in hand to add Garunix. Garunix is gonna summon back, and then Kirin's gonna summon back, and then Garunix is gonna trigger special summon the Garunix. Kirin summon back the Ramboli, pop the transcode, send Arvada bring back, and then yeah, if they didn't have a Nibiru there, they were dead, and they didn't have a Nibiru there. Now there was possibly maybe a way I could have sent Arvada as well, but I think the optimal line was actually going Fire King Island and then chain Kirin, so Kirin pops the Volcanics. That way I get the Volcanics trigger and I get the Kirin trigger. But I mean, at the end of the day, like they were losing that game anyways without a Nibiru in hand, which they seem to not have. So yeah, I'm basically done with this event. I got all the gems, and I'm just waiting on the additional missions to unlock before I finish it off and get the title. And obviously we're waiting on the X0 festival, which is gonna start shortly. But let me know if you want to see some other crackhead decks that I've been playing for this event. And if you want to see less crackhead decks and you're still wondering what you want to play for this event because you haven't finished it yet, check out the videos I made on like what decks you should play, budget or non-budget for this event. And thanks for watching.